Hello, this is Aphex Colin, and again, I'm bringing you another tutorial for Fantasy Grounds Pathfinder 2nd Edition. This time, I'm definitely going to go into the depth of just the advanced basic uh, everything that's basic on the program itself. So basically going to introduce the entire interface, let you know what every little thing is that you're seeing on top of the screen, especially over here in this gray area and the red area down here. And that's because, I want to make sure that everyone's having a good time getting their DM, or making sure that as a DM that you're getting your players to have a lot of fun and a good time, because this program, this virtual tabletop program is amazing in my opinion. It does so much, and the people who brought this to us is they do a great job, and I really can't stress that enough, because everything that they do, it just enhances everything, and it gets better and better and better as time goes on. So there's really nothing negative I can say about this program, other than sometimes there's just a lot of stuff all over the place, and you really need to know what you're kind of doing. A lot of it that I got from are tips and tricks that came with the email that you used to get. Now, for some reason, they're not giving you little tips or tricks, but at least when you open up the Fantasy Grounds, what do you call it, loader, everything that's happening there, you'll definitely see some tips and tricks at the bottom. So that's really cool. And but anyways, let's kind of get into this. This is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter video than my last one, and I'm breaking this up into kind of a couple different parts. I do really want to get into everything with this program, so that you, as the Dungeon Master or Game Master, however you want to say it, can really appreciate and understand the program as much as that you possibly can, to really get your players to have a good time. You know, and keep our, the whole idea of us being a dungeon master and to using these type of products is to really make it so that we can go faster and run a smoother session with our gamers, our players being more active and paying attention more, because we all know that there's that one guy in the group, he doesn't pay attention half the time. He's got a tough time. Now, you can't blame him. Happens sometimes when you get bogged down. There's just so much information coming at you. But with a virtual tabletop like Fantasy Grounds, you can do a lot of really great things. So, let's get started here. So, what we're really going to be looking at here today, the gray boxes up here and the red boxes down here. Last time, you should know by now, hopefully, that in order to get all of these information boxes, or however you want to say these, I'm not even sure exactly what these are. I'm sure the developers know exactly what he would call these. But if anything, this is where all the information is going to be about your campaign. Depending on what you're trying to do, what kind of campaign you're running, you could just be running a very short-term module, or a one-shot, or a very long-term module, depending on what you're trying to get into. The main thing, though, that you have to remember is at the very bottom, library. I can't stress this enough. Again, make sure that everything that you want information-wise, be it monsters, creatures, other characters, maps, tokens. You can buy tokens. You can buy map making creation artwork from the Fantasy Grounds. They even have a really cool, last time, I don't know, it's been a minute, but I'm pretty sure they still have this subscription-based service where you get a lot of artwork, where you can get some stuff in the background. You can change the sides here, and they do a really good job of it. Not only that, but there's so much in that subscription, and if you're a map maker, that is probably going to be your top priority, is to grab that subscription, because it's not that much money a month. I forget, it was something like $10 or something like that a month, but you get, I don't know, I just want to say, ballparking here around like 5,000 to 10,000 different I'm not sure what you would call them, like tokens, or things that you can put down onto your map to make a really cool map. Now, this isn't, I would say, a perfect map maker, nor is it a character what you call it, creation tool or anything like that, but it's enough that's added into the system where for the price you're getting a knockout of a bargain that makes it so it's really worthwhile and really fun to work on, especially if you have a lot of time. If you don't have a lot of time in your hands, where I'm half and half. Oh, excuse me. I'm half and half, so sometimes I'm gonna be able to have a lot of free time. Sometimes I don't, but right now I have plenty of time, so I'm making these videos. But what we need to do to make sure that we have all this information over here, we go to modules, click that, and to make sure everything says, everything that we wanted loaded in, we want to make sure it says load. All right, very important. And again, there's some pages down here, so don't forget about those. You can go to the last page, but everything that you want in here, you definitely need to make sure you click the load button, and it'll pop up in here and you'll have all the information. So your players, you can give it to your players and you're able to run what you want to run. So let's kind of go down this line here in a second, because the most important of all are these gray boxes, which are really fun. And we'll get in to right now. We're going to jump in. So again, the combat tracker, which is the very first thing. As you can see, we had our evil snowman from last time, Two Teeth Timmy. What an amazing adventure hero. And say I just kind of want to get rid of these two items. I just kind of right-click right-click and kind of hit the delete item. And the item is still in here. It's just deleting it off of this combat tracker, so that way we don't have to really worry about what's in here. Now, if you have a character or a creature in there that has some sort of, like, say it's slowed 1 and you ended your session, but yet you have new players coming in and you got to get rid of that monster, now you're going to have to make a note somewhere saying that monster was slowed 1. It will not remember the conditions right now. It does remember how much health, and it does remember how much I think it's exactly where the health. I think it's just the health right now. Yeah, just the health, which is great, because then you can just take off those players, bring them back in later on, instead of having to write those down. And I'm sure in the future they will somehow manage to get the conditions to stay onto the tokens, but or onto the character. But it's kind of a little weird because I see where they're coming from, where they're grabbing everything and all the information. And so anyway. Let's see. Now, the next big thing, so combat tracker is important, and we're going to have this little party sheet. So I haven't done this in forever. I don't use this very often, and that's just because I have so many players coming and going at times. But this is important because if you want to give your players treasure, or say you want to reward your players XP, or you want to use some secret roles from them and you don't want them to know that they're taking these roles, this is the way to do it. So they might see in the dice box chat box here that, yeah, like something is being rolled by them, but for the most part, they might stay. They might not know any better. If they're not paying attention to the dice box there. So anyways, let's just kind of for fun, I'm going to throw in this player. And just like throwing it into the combat tracker, if I wanted to throw 8 in here into the combat tracker, you just, left-click, drag, left-click, drag the same in the party sheet. But what's nice about the party sheet is I can see everyone's scores right here, but I can easily not really, but I can see a lot of their scores in here too. And I can also click on this little red dragon thing, and sometimes it's a different type of icon, and I can see all the areas of the character sheet for Aiden. And over here, though, which is important, we're really going to see a lot of other stuff, and that's pretty important in general, because we say I want Aiden to take a dexterity check just straight up, but not, I don't really want him to know it, but I can still just double click on that, and you can see that really little small, I can't zoom in there, but that really teeny tiny little yellow, like, looking die 20, meaning that you can double click, or I can click and drag this into here. And I have this set so no one can see my rolls, and I'll explain that here in a moment. Again, here's his AC, and I can make him do a fortitude save, say he got a disease, and I don't want him to know that when he slept with the mysterious woman of the forest, that he might have gotten STD. So we just want to make sure that we take a secret fortitude save, and then later on we can let him know if he's getting burning, itches somewhere or not. So we can do that. So that's kind of the whole idea here. But there's a couple other cool things down here. I can do a group, a big group roll if I needed to. So here's Albron. I'm just going to kind of bring him in here. And Albron, say I want them all to take a stealth save. And I can even plant the DC. I can be like, oh, the DC's a 32, right? And I can just kind of smack. Bam. Look at that. Shows me exactly their scores, and if they succeeded or not. Both of them completely failed with that. So, but say I want them to take a fortitude save in the same lieu, hit the button. Oh, and this I'm just clicking once. You can even click and no, you can't like click and drag that one. Okay, but this you just click. You don't even have to double click. If you see that die in this yellow box, you just click. You don't have to double click. Double clicking, you're just gonna get two different scores. But yeah, here you're seeing here like the red box. It's a critical failure. That's failure. Hey, it's a save. Hey, success. And that's kind of what's going on in the party sheet here. For the most part. So that's in the main. Again, we have these tabs. Tabs are going to be everywhere on every one of these categories that we're going to get into for our campaign. So all these tabs, we have our main. Then we get the skills. Skills are great here because, again, I can do the same thing if I don't really want them to know, but they might see a roll happening or occurring, but they might not know exactly what's going on. So say nature check. Hey, Albron, give me your nature. Well, I don't want him to know, but he rolls, and I just go, oh, wow, unfortunately, that alligator looks a lot like a crocodile. It's a crocodile, so one of those kind of things. And it'll tell you some other cool things. Down here, their senses, and down here will be what language that they speak. And you probably, if you're already playing with this program, probably notice right down here in the chat box, you can actually click on this right side here, and I can go to Dwarven, and I can say, hey, dude, did you take my Snickers? And right there, I can see it. And it'll actually tell me if they are here. If Albron was here, it'd say understood by Albron Firebeard. And that would be a really easy way for me to be like, oh, okay, at least one person understood that person. So I don't even, as a dungeon master, I don't even have to really look it up to be like, who actually understands Dwarven? Well, the dwarves obviously do, but say an elf knows Dwarven or something like that. Well, now I don't really have to worry too much about looking it up. It's just right there at the bottom, understood by la 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 and doodaloo. And that's the great thing about this. So again, awesome feature. You can add in your own languages too. Again, we'll get into that later. So pretty cool stuff. Again, once we go back up here to the party sheet, we're in the skills. You can even do a full group skill. So if I want everyone to take a perception, but I don't want them to really know that they're taking a perception, or a lot of times though I tell my group to do something to kind of keep the excitement up. Plus, one of my philosophies is to the players should be rolling more dice than the dungeon master, and or rolling as much as the dungeon master, engaging, if you will. So I think that's kind of why second edition kind of changed over to third edition, and because back in the day the dungeon master did most of the die work, but now it's kind of the opposite. which is great because you know you want to really get your players engaged, and so the more you can get them engaged, the better. All right, so kind of going back to here. Now we have some inventory. This is really flipping cool. Let's for this though. You know, I'm gonna use because I don't want to go and delete a bunch of stuff later. Let's use Two Teeth Timmy. Uh, Here's Two Teeth Timmy. Just kind of throw you down in here. All right, Two Teeth. Say we just got done, and we can't necessarily. Well, I'll get into here, and you're gonna see a bunch of stuff. This is all the stuff that your party has got before, but you can easily. Oh, you know, you can delete this in some manner. Is this the? I believe that's how you do that. Kind of get rid of everything. Okay, and this distributes everything. All right, so anywho, if I remember, I don't use this very often either because by the time it's great for modules though. If you're using a module, I highly suggest using the party sheet because a lot easier, just so much more easier than because most of the time they have the parcels and they have the XP and everything right inside of there. For my campaign, I don't know where my players are necessarily going, and I have no clue. So there's going to be a lot of times where a lot of things are being made on the fly. It's a little bit more downtime, but players like it because they get to kind of do whatever they want, and they might find anything. You never know what they're going to get. So there's no finite amount of treasure in my campaign, and that's just part of what I'm doing. I think though, I swear there's another way to get rid of this stuff, but I'm not really too worried about that right now. But what I want to do is say that we're playing story. Let's just use Age of Ashes, in my opinion, one of the most generic, boring pieces of adventure that you could be playing. But at one point, I'm sure there's a. Okay, here we go. Here's an encounter, and there is treasure. So you open up the treasure eventually, and there'll be an item. Pretty cool. And the item you can grab, throw it in here, and I believe. Oh, that's just to bring another one. Delete that. But we have this thing, and I want to bring it. I think this will bring. That's selling items, but okay, I think this is only for selling items. And so once you kind of put in, let's just say, anyways, for fun, grab a couple items. Yeah, sure. This one too, and this. All right, so we have these items. I could easily hit this sell button for 50% and convert all that into money. And I will show that here in a moment. But say I want this to go to a certain character. And let's put in one other character. So to give you just another example. Oops. I don't know why that didn't jump in there. All right, there we go. So we have two people, and we have this inventory, and so people are fighting over whatnot, and all we have to do is put in, if I put in T, Two Teeth Timmy pops up right there, and then just hit enter. I forget what my familiar's name was, but if I want him, Alabaster, very, very white thing. Fluffy white thing. So Alabaster, who's Top Loft's familiar, gets it, and then say I want Two Teeth Timmy. So once I have all of this button down here, it's kind of hitting down. You just click it. Once that happens, you're gonna see the items go to where they're supposed to be going to. So you can even see in the chat box over here that the magical halfling sling staff went to Two Teeth Timmy, and the Alabaster Top Loft's familiar bolt went to him, and Deed to the Citadel. Altarian went to Two Teeth Timmy. And if you go to Two Teeth Timmy's inventory, it'll actually be in there, which is pretty neat. So here it all is now. That's another thing though, right here, like the deed. But the magical halfling staff. Oh, it's actually there. Because a lot of times I want to make note that any item that you put in here, and here's another really important fact to remember, is that when you do find an item or any parcel, majority of the stuff is not going to be identified. This is if your party or if your group really likes to look at items and try to figure out what they are. You know, as a dungeon master, just like, yeah, it's a stick. And they're like, well, does it do anything? Why would this person have a stick on them? You know, I don't know, but it looks like a stick. You know, so they would have to try to figure it out. Well, I mean, crafting check, is this actually just a stick or is this something more? You know, they start using detect magic and things like that. So it's up to you as the game master, dungeon master, if you want to really run that. Some players love it. Some players, it bogs down the time, and you can tell because of the players who get really distracted easily. So it's really up to you, you know, how you want to do it. But eventually, this identity thing cannot be crossed out if they're really going to know what it is. And as you can see, the magical halfling sling staff is not actually called the +1 anarchic anarchic striking halfling sling staff. I can barely say this word. I'm sorry. I can say anarchy, but barely anarchic. um, just shows you how cool of a guy I am. All right. So anyway, so this again tells all the information, but right here we have it's not identified. So Two Teeth Timmy doesn't know what this is, and it's really cool if you really want to make sure that. And then again, one of these days I'll teach you how to edit all these boxes out and everything, but I'm not going to get into that today. I just want to make sure that we understand how to do most of the gray area and these red areas kind of down there. So we're not going to get into that today. So later on when we get into customization, you'll kind of see that. So customizing items, customizing creatures, customizing anything. There'll be a customizing. I mean, you can make a whole class if you really wanted to. There's going to be some stipulations with that though, and so there's going to be a lot of non-automation things happening at first, depending on what kind of class you're kind of creating and what kind of programming would needed to be involved for that class. Anyway, so I'm going to undo this, and as you can see, now it's green, and the +1 anarchic striking halfling sling staff is now inside the inventory of Two Teeth Timmy. Yay! That's what we wanted. Woohoo! So I can leave it like this. I'm one of those dungeon masters. I go either way. Depends on the item. If it's something sweet, I usually kind of hide it from the player a little bit more. If it's something just like pretty generic, like, oh, that's a potion. Oh, it's a potion, you know, and I don't want to sit there for, you know, 2 minutes figuring out what kind of potion it is. So I was like, oh, it's a potion of healing, you know, a greater potion of healing. So anyway, so there's a bunch of stuff that you can see that goes into the inventory. If I wanted to, though, I can take an item and say this battle axe, and I can sell it right here. I can hit this button, and it sells for 50% of the value. I believe it's rounded down, or it might be rounded up. If this is true second edition, it should be rounded up. And what's going to happen once you have the money in here, and I can even say, oh, you know, I want you to have 679 platinum pieces there, you know, sir. So Two Teeth Timmy, I want you to have these. And I think if I hit this, it should go to Two Teeth Timmy. It goes to both of them. It goes to everyone. This actually splits up everything. Okay. So that is kind of interesting to know, because it gave them 339 there, and same thing with top alabaster 339. So in the end, you're left with these other things. So I can probably just hit that and give it to them, or give them nothing. All right. So yeah, you can't really have ones in there apparently. Woo. So so it must be I believe it's rounding down. Um, so let's see. All right, what else do we have in here? I think that's about it. How to really get the treasure and the money, especially if you have a ton of it and you throw it in here. So that's how we get rid of it. Oh, and this, I get this. If this is a rebuild party, basically, if I get rid of these two people, um, and I go back here, the inventory, and I smack that, everything is going to come fresh. This is going to be based on how many people or what people are in the party, and you're always going to see the complete inventory of the party in this area. This will also show the coins that are being carried by the party. So you again just run it down, hit inventory, throw in the parcel that you want. There is actual parcels here. You can actually just throw in a parcel and it'll throw in like, 15 billion items sometimes. I guess that's only for the not those twice those two times. So, but there's definitely parcels. Oh, and it did even throw in some money over here. So you could definitely see and some other currency EP, I don't know. So you can see how that kind of works there. That's parcels. And then you just, if you want to sell it, and you can even change the price. I do this all the time with my players, depending on where they're at. If my Dwarven players go back to the Five Kings Mountain, they're going to be in an area where most of those people know them because they're royalty in my campaign. So they're going to get a huge discount on items, and on top of that, they're going to get a huge influx of sell price when they sell it. Not to the point though where the economy would kind of falter, but just enough to kind of have some fun. Um, okay, so then there's order. That's a kind of an interesting thing. Let me show you how this works. I don't really use this very often, but say you guys want to. And it's a really good, to each their own. This is really good for when you want to have a default marching order. So that way, if one, you're using Theater of the Mind, you can automatically kind of see where all the characters are at inside your mind, not just you, but everyone else. And two, if you're kind of throwing out everyone onto the field on a map, you just really quickly build their formation based on this area. So I believe you take it and you kind of just throw a character in. Not sure why this pointer isn't here, but you can kind of see it. You're probably not going to see it, but there are some white blocks in here. It's just really fair on my end. Um, there maybe will be a day where we can make those a little thicker, maybe black instead of white. That'd be cool. But I can throw down the formation pretty quickly. Throw down the three players. I have a mage, and it looks like two dwarves. So we'll put the mage in the back, and we want to have the two dwarves kind of side by side, but we still kind of want the middle open for the mage so he can throw spells off to the right, but it's and have a space right here between them so they're not necessarily right next to each other, but it gives the mage a little bit of chance to get away if he needs to be, or back off if he needs to, while the two front people engage in whatever they're doing. So this again, just a nice little way, and that's all you really do. I don't believe there's an implementation of anywhere where I can grab this and throw it onto a map yet. That'd be really cool if you could grab this and throw it onto the map. Maybe there is. I'm not 100% perfect at this program yet. I am still learning, but there's a lot to it. But as far as I can tell, I don't believe there is anything for it here. Now, the next and last and greatest thing of all for your players is how much XP do they get. And so you want to award them XP. Now, I can't use, because these two are in my other campaign, and if I messed with their XP, they'd be pretty upset. But I have Top Loft, and that's good enough. Top Loft is another kind of experimental dude that I work with. I make classes here and there, try to run them a little bit just to understand them. But um, so if I want to award a player a certain amount of XP, you actually can't just put in the XP name. But I think what I did, if I'm correct, I think I made a, I went into the, is this in, I think this is in, so this is in the encounters. I actually made my own XP area so I could kind of if I'm something came along where I you had my own scenario, I could easily reward XP to my players without having to worry about uh, uh, kind of like like looking around, because one thing that you're going to notice, you can't just throw in XP in the air all willy-nilly. There's no way to do it. You actually have to go and find either a let's see, the slithering, like you literally have to find something that has an encounter, and you can throw the XP right here. There's an area where it always has the XP, and I can just grab this little box at the top, or again, was this caravan yard. I can find caravan yard right here, grab this little box, and I throw it into here. Okay, and once I am ready to award the XP, and you can see it's right there, 80, to my players, I just hit the award button, and it goes right into their right straight into their XP area. The other interesting thing too is right here: is it awarded or not? Maybe sometimes you want to award something, or you throw it in here hoping to reward your players with something, but what if they didn't do the specifications that they were supposed to do to get that XP? So instead, you take it off, and then, or I'm sorry, you check it off, and you can say, yeah, they're not going to get this XP, or this is another good way just to make sure that you know that they got that XP. But I believe you can go and right click and hit the delete button. No one is the wiser. You can also do this with quests. If you go to quests right here, this is kind of new, and thank goodness that they started doing this, because it's a lot easier to get players to understand what's going on with a quest. If you call it a quest, kind of easier, but it also has the XP in there too. But I also kind of went ahead a little bit, and I made an area in the encounters, and I called it XP. And I at one point I had a bunch of these, and there was like 2, 4, 6, 60, 80, a bunch of XP that I had. But at one point, it was just kind of bogging me down. It's a lot easier for me at the I do XP a little bit differently right now, so that's a whole different story. My players seem to like it a lot, so but that's the whole idea of the party sheet. All right, cool. We got one down. All right, so the next thing is going to be the calendar. Here's the calendar right here. Now I don't even think you get a calendar unless you go into the library modules, and I think it comes with stock libraries, maybe. I remember I had to get the library through here somehow at one point, unload it, or I mean load it, and then make sure it says unload, so when you hit load, it's in the program. Unloading means you're taking it out. But this is great because if you like to run with time on your players, make them fear time and things like that, or make them love it at the same time, depending on what you're trying to do. This is what you're going to run with. So this is pretty much the Golarian Pathfinder calendar. Right now it's the 11th of Callisterol, which is about February, and there's you're gonna see these blue numbers here, and they're real outlined in blue. I don't know if you guys can see it, but they're there. You'll see it when you open up the calendar. Those are actually like holidays inside. If you scroll over it, it even tells you it's a holiday. I kind of added my own holidays here and there for fun, kind of give some relief to the, and some world building with the environment, so the players really feel like it's a living, breathing world. Because you definitely have to have some traditional holidays here and there, some fun little things uh, to break up the monotony of everything. So, anyways, say let's just for fun, we know it's 8:30 on this day in this year, but let's say we want the 15th to be today. Okay. Well, I just kind of click on the 15th, and I'm going to go over to this little arrow that's kind of pointing to the left, and I just click it. And a little hiccup here. Shouldn't take any time. Oh, maybe not. Bam! There we go. I had to click it again. So now it's this date, and I can actually hit this little, kind of looks like a text dialog box, or like a bubble, I should say, text dialog bubble. If you hit this, it goes out into the chat box and lets your players know what the date is. So I'm going back to the 11th because that's where my players are at, and it's actually 8:30 a.m. And I can hit this chat box, or this bubble, chat bubble, and there we go. 8:30 a.m. in the morning, so they know what time it is. Or you can make them use survival checks to figure out what the heck time it is. You might see the sun overhead, but is it really noon? Or, has that sun been there a little too long up above there? It's like it's been there for like an hour, right? Oh, I got a good enough survival check. Yeah, it's about noon 50. So, almost 1 o'clock. My head is, tricks being done with my head. Let's see. So, now the next thing is you can't just click on the time and I'm trying to hit the buttons here and trying to put 9, 10s and whatnot. I can't do anything here. Nothing's happening. So this is another reoccurrence that's going to happen a lot of times, where there's going to be a lot of stagnant numbers where you can't really change them. But good news is that you can change them. Now, not everything is going to be you're going to be able to change, but majority of everything you're going to be changing, and I'm sure there's reasons for why you can't change certain things. But for now, we can change it. It's 8:30 in the morning. So what I do, I have to hold down Control and then use my mouse wheel to go up or down. And that's how you control the time. Just, again, use Control, hold it down, and then use the mouse wheel. And there you go. And that's how you're going to manipulate a lot of numbers. Even, say, with set characters, I don't like this 10 here anymore. I don't want to use the miscellaneous box, nor do I want to use, this damage box over here. I just want to, hold down Control and use my mouse wheel. And now I can, theoretically make my character pretty strong. So there we go. Plus 25 bonus for Alabaster Top Loft's Familiar. Or, I can go the opposite way, all the way, and give him I don't know, negative 25. Oh man, ugh, that thing is weak. Probably by the time it tries to fly off of a perch, it just dies from breaking its own bones from the flight itself. So anyway, we go back to 10. All right, so that is the calendar. You can add in logs if you would like in the calendar. For instance, say one of your players is at a college and he attends it twice a week so that he can raise one of his skills from being non-trained to trained. Well, say I'm going to tell him it's going to take him 3 months from the enrollment date. So the 11th of Farast, I'm sure those are Or that's Pharasma, and then Gozra, of course. Here, Gozren. So that's 2, and then 3. Desnus. So we just kind of click on the 11 here. If you double click on it, you're gonna open up this little log thing. The game master, I can add in a note that is just for the game master. You are dumb. All right, and then for the player, I'll be putting, for them, what they can see. If they do want to open up the calendar, they can go right ahead and open up the calendar, and they can see that. All right, yeah, so that's DM. DM is the blue. That's what I thought. Now, you just right-click on it, and you can delete the event. We don't want to delete. Okay, delete event. Okay. Now, that is pretty much. You can actually add in log entries here. You can see all logs. This tells you everything that's inside. So, first of if I probably added that in on accident, but I know that's the new year. So I had some notes in here. Yeah, Malcolm done reading that. So that's how you keep kind of tracks of your notes, and you can see all the logs straight from there. So again, click Control mouse wheel to change the time, and use up here these text bubbles to make sure that the party knows what time it is, or can display what time it is, and so that way they can kind of roll around and see what time it is if they aren't paying attention or they're not sure what's going on, or what time it is or they forget. It's all there. So that's the calendar. Next, cool, die colors. Woohoo! So we got this die color thing. I think this is pretty much self-explanatory. I don't have to really say too much. You guys can change your die color. Have fun with that one. All right, the next big thing is options. This is probably going to take the longest of all out of everything. The gray, of course, areas up here going to take a little bit more time than the red down here, but pretty much this right here tells everything that you want to know about. Actually, I'm not going to take probably as long as I thought I was going to take, but this is everything as the dungeon master, how you really want to control the settings of everything, so it kind of makes sense. So, for instance, I can have a ring, kind of like a ding, go on when someone whispers. Also, another cool thing, anytime your players whisper among each other, and you just kind of hit this right here, whisper to whoever or whatnot. And another cool thing, if you're not really sure what you're doing, just backspace help, and you're going to see a bunch of cool stuff. I'm going to get to that here in a second, too, because there is like 2 big things with that. But we want to make sure our ring is on whisper so we can hear those dings go off so we know someone's talking. Dice, I think this is the manual entry. I have this off. Remove on miss a target. I have it off. So there's just like a couple of these things are kind of like auto center map. That's on. That should always be on. Here's the game master and everything that you really want. If you want like make sure that your game master voice is active. I'm not really sure. I forget what CT is. It's eluding me right now. I think it's eluding me right now. Oh yes, combat tracker. So combat tracker, set the game master voice to the combat tracker if you want the players to kind of talk through that. Well, we haven't really used that, but I'm going to kind of turn that on. I'm kind of curious about that now. This is the big one. And this is another one. Show all whispers to game master. You can turn this off. So if you really don't know what you don't want to know what the players are saying, you can have it off. I like to kind of look at what they're saying because I get curious, but that's just me. But I try to erase those out of my head as I'm trying to play Game Master. But I do not like to show my Game Master roles, but sometimes for fun I'll turn those on just to show players that I am not cheating, so they can see a whole game session run without me, without them wondering if I was cheating. Kind of like when those, what did I get, like three or four nat 20s the other night when I did the tutorial. So sometimes just weird things happen, So anyway, another really cool thing is, so anyway, most of this is kind of self-explanatory. But if you ever do get lost, there is this little question mark up in the corner, and this is your best bet to figuring out everything for almost every little situation. Just kind of hit this question mark, and boppity bop bop, you're going to get everything in detail on this page. So this page teaches you pretty much everything, I mean, pretty much everything. But things change, and you're not always going to be looking at this. And most people are kind of like trial and error when they're playing. Hence why I'm making this video. So I really want people to be able to see the interaction and exactly how everything works, so they can get right into it and have some fun. So Game Master rules show results to client. We want to make sure that's on for the most part. If you want the cool background to be here, you just turn it on. Smite works, or custom, or you can put your Pathfinder there or off. I prefer it off, but everyone's different. You never know. So let's see. Then we have show characters to clients. I have this off. Show inventory to clients. I have this off. So basically, I don't want people to see other characters that are in there. And inventory, definitely. I believe that's what that is. I'm correct. I could be wrong. Some of this I'm kind of like second guessing. But Dice Tower is awesome. Definitely right here, the Dice Tower. Make sure that you have this on, because every once in a while, and I love this actually as a player, they can throw their dice in the dice tower, and it makes it so that they can't see their result. All right, and a little thing will kind of appear down here for your players. If I turn off this or turn that on, show GM rolls, this is what the dice tower actually looks like. So now I can actually turn off. So if I wanted to, I can have my players see my rolls, but also if I don't want them to see my roll, I can throw it in the dice tower. And the cool part about the dice tower too, for players who want to play with the dice tower on, they can't see their results either, which makes it really exciting for them, because they don't, if they want to kind of play more like back in second edition, where they don't want to know what the dice, that's just the fate. Dice is just the fate of what happens when you try to swing. What happens when you try to jump. Does what does fate have in store for you? Some players just want to hear the story, and that is awesome. I have a couple players that do that, and it's just so much more fun. They don't know necessarily if they got a nat one, or well, at times they definitely do. But sometimes they get low scores where they're not sure if that's a nat one, or if that was just maybe that was a high score. They don't really know. So it's really fun when you do that. Anyways, I'm going to turn this back off, so you don't see that, because every time we roll in general, and you'll see the eye right there with a little icon kind of going, like Xing it out, kind of like, no one can see this. Only you can. So the Dungeon Master can see that. And that's what we want. That's what we're going for. All right. And then there's a bunch of combat stuff. One of my biggest things with combat, I like to make sure that the bell is on, so when it comes to a player's turn, they hear a ding. The other thing was skipping. There's one in here where it skips a player if they're not in if they're not in combat. So if for instance you put a creature in here and you don't want the players to see it, let's just grab something out of here real quick. But say you don't want the creatures to, or the players to see it. So you hit this button and you'll see like a half eye there, and you can even hit this one at the top. We'll get into that in advanced combat later on when I make that one, but for right now, this is just so to make sure, but I don't want Aiden to know that this thing is in here, especially if there's like 2 other characters, 3 other characters in here. And the first thing that will happen for the most part is when I kind of go through this combat tracker, when I go the aberrant should be the next creature in line when I hit this down arrow, but it'll skip it. So that way the players, and you can see the eye right here and it's crossed out, the players don't know that that creature is actually there. And maybe they got rid of that, but I know I had to turn it on. Yeah, right here, turn, skip, hidden actor. Make sure that that's on. That's a big one, in my opinion. Um, you can show the turn order. You know, I think I'm going to start turning this off soon because I'm a dick to my players. So let's see what else. Um, ring bell and turn. Most of this is pretty easy. Pretty easy stuff to understand. Now another cool thing for allies, I like to have a detailed. This might actually be a what you call a. There's a couple things in here that you're probably not seeing on your end that you're seeing on my end, and those are extensions. Those are free on the website. Really easy to get to, not hard to put them in, but just want to state that they are there, and depending on what you're putting into the program, what you'll get in here. And I think like you're gonna see like music or something down here at one point. I had something at the very top. I forget, but maybe it's not there anymore. Maybe I got rid of it, but it's around that anyway. Kind of getting back to the game here. There's the health ally. I like to have it detailed. You can kind of make it status or off, but the whole idea is that it'll show for the allies. I forget where that's at. I like it detailed, and then I make sure it's just status for the non-allies. And wound categories I like detailed. And the whole idea is down here where it says player show ally health. I like the allies to have a bar, and they can see actually how, like, gauge how much health they've lost. And that's kind of me being nice. Because otherwise, with enemies, I just use a dot. It's a dot there, and the redder it gets, the more they know that it's dying. But they don't know how much health is there in retrospect. With a bar, you're gonna actually be able to gauge like, oh, 20% of that bar is gone. So hitting it for 7 damage, it only has so many HP left. So that's like another thing I just kind of want to go over. Uh, that's a great one to kind of have. And then icons, I make sure that the allies can see their effects, and the uh, allies can see the enemy effects. But I might change that to later on. But anyway, that's pretty much like this is everything that you need to know to really change the options of what's going on. There's some house rules and things. Another kind of cool thing, say you want to add some languages into your game, just right click and hit the create item option, throw it in there, and you can actually go in here and have that language now. So you can make your own languages, or you can have multiple languages that are very, that uses the same system, or I shouldn't say same system, but uses the same alphabet that you see down that was written down here. So some languages like um, I'm sure some of these kind of default to something, but if you make up a language, you can also kind of use other languages. So you can be like, oh, I made up a language called Baboo, and Baboo is a elven-like looking language because it's very I don't know, celestial looking. So that's kind of there, and you can also do the same with currencies. You can make your own type of currency. So if you have more or different type of currency than platinum pieces, gold pieces, silver pieces, copper pieces, so you have iron bits or something like that, you can just put go here, create item, and again, just put iron bits, IB. Sidebar. This shows all the stuff that you can put. So this is kind of, I guess, where they put it now. You pretty much want to have all. I mean, for me, I like all on. You want to have them all on, and it just makes all of these appear over here, the sidebars. I like to have those on, all of those. I like to have every little bit of information at my at my side setup. This is a little different. This just is kind of self-explanatory. Uh, Token lights, again, self-explanatory. This is, or I shouldn't say self-explanatory. This is a little bit more to do with how lighting occurs when you want your players to have a lantern and they can only see so far with the lantern in a darkened cave. This is an area where you would create a type of spell so you could easily throw it onto a character. So, say I have something called Sunburst, I could easily create that right here, and then say Sunburst, and then I put in all the details. It's 120 feet, brightness, this and that and that, and we'll get into that later on when we get into advanced. It's going to be part of advanced combat, and I think a part of when we create maps. Okay, so kind of moving on here. I think this is going to be equally, or if not longer, than my last uh, tutorial. So anyway, let's see. All right, I think the last biggest, coolest thing is message of the day. You could go ahead and put in whatever message you want the players to see, and it pops up right away. When they join, they're going to see the message of the day. So if you're trying to create some kind of like, I guess, excitement, kind of like giving a synopsis or a very vague, prologue attempt of what you're about to do for that session, this is probably a good way to really do it. Sometimes I do little things like this, just kind of adding in things to kind of make the players really think about who they are, and making sure that my characters, or I mean my players, understand that they are their character, they are not themselves. So they therefore to make sure that they're playing as their character. So what would your character do? Not what your player would do. The player knows certain things, but what would the character do? We want to make sure the character does that. So anyways, that is really cool. Message of the day. Awesome. So much great stuff in here. All right, so we're almost done here. We're kind of wrapping up. So that is options. Next, we have this plus and minus sign. This is quite important because, and we're going to see this again when we get into advanced combat. This has everything to do with being able to do really quick things. And the players, I have my players use this a lot. Say one of my characters is in standard cover, but I don't necessarily want to throw on standard cover onto my monster before the player attempts to roll. What I will tell them to do is to open up their modifier and go to standard cover and to click on standard cover so that when they make their next attack, the attack and standard cover will go together. But me just rolling a die 20, that's not going to do it. But if I had Aiden roll an attack, wow, he has nothing. Oh, what? Okay, let's go here. All right. So say Albron is going to attack with his plus 16. And we have standard cover, so this should give the person a, so it says cover, and it's automatically applied into the attack. So it's pretty cool. Same thing with flat-footed, the multiple attack penalties. This also, really importantly, has the critical and half damage multiplier. So if something does happen and you accidentally critted someone, but you weren't supposed to crit them, you can easily just kind of hit the half damage, throw it on. I think you can do that, throw it on top, or so say sometimes you get a crit and you didn't even know it. You can hit crit, but you can also, well, we'll get into that later on, but you can also hold down shift and drag the damage die on top of a creature, and that actually does a crit too. So that the modifiers are pretty important. And the last thing here, effects. This is everything that you need to throw onto a aberrant. This guy's a jerk, but say he slipped on, I don't know, a waffle, and he is now prone, So I just kind of clicked and dragged prone over onto him. You can also, if it is this person's turn, and remember, you have to show this person with my options on. I have to show him to actually put this thing on him. Or actually, I don't even know. I think I can just put it on him without showing him. But anyway, so yeah, like right there. Uh, but anyway, say it's his turn, and I can say that he got prone on his turn, so I can just click the button and it goes to him again. So now he's both prone. But you have to remember this has to be on the character's turn. You can't just click the button if we're on Aiden's turn and all of a sudden the aberrant becomes prone. I can't click prone to to go to the aberrant because it's now going to go to Aiden. So you have to remember that the best way to use this system is to remember if it's their turn, just click. Really easy. If it's not their turn, drag. And then later on, there are other things that we have. For instance, like the haste spell. Earlier, I had to actually do this all the time because there were no automations with the haste spell itself. So I had to actually make a haste and throw it onto a character. So we remembered that they were actually had 4 actions instead of 3 for 10 rounds. Really, really important. And you know, then I have other modifiers that are added into here to make it so it's a little bit more exciting. So I have all kinds of modifiers in here. So, but that's the conditions, and the conditions make it fun. That's depending on what kind of a dungeon master you are. If you like to really do a lot with conditions, you know, that you can make your own conditions and do all kinds of cool things. And I'll explain that another time when we get into, again, customization, really getting into the nitty-grittiness of that. All right, so the only last thing left are all these red things. We kind of already know what library does. We know what characters does. We make a character in here, and we select characters really fast and easy. Notes, though, we can make notes, which are really important because, for instance, say I want to make sure that my medicine users know how to use the medicine skill in a very efficient and easy way for them to understand. So I first go here, right click, make sure I create item, and the item's gonna always pop up when you create an item. Always pops up at the top, and I'm pretty sure it jumps up there when that happens. But once it does, it jumps up there. And then after that, you can grab this, but make sure, is it public or is it not? It will always become public if you throw it in to the chat box here, dice chat box. And you'll see this little click, but say like you accidentally did that, you don't want anyone to know, just unclick it. All right, and that's how easy it is. Click unclick. And if you want to, again, we talked about these right here, these little locks to make sure that, accidentally put in something else that, I should kind of lock this because there's nothing else to understand here. But so this is just to, make sure that your players understand or have a note, and you can throw it in here. Now, say you need a note. Say I need to know, like, creature identification. I can never remember what skill goes to what. So I use this all the time. Great. Not only that, I also use DCs by level. This gives me another really quick way to identify things that are happening. So I mean, you can already see right now with notes, there's so much you can do to really on the fly, find things that you really need to know that are important. But there are sometimes things are spread out in 15 different directions. This is the way you can throw them all into one area. Images. Images open up the maps, and not just the maps, but also images like creature images and anything that's kind of like a handout. And you can see I have a lot of them. I spend a lot of time throwing in a lot of these things, and I think there's almost too many. But you just click on it, you get the idea. Yeah, look at that. It's a pretty sweet picture. Yeah, woo! Advanced Player's Guide. Awesome book. Great. I love second edition, but I added a lot of 3.5 in first edition into it too. And I just use the Game Master's Guide to kind of update it, make sure it kind of makes sense. And sometimes I just go full, first edition, but that's a whole different story. So anyways, that's kind of what this is all about. I'll explain another day how you can get maps, but right now we're just understanding what's all in here. Story is everything if you want to know. Basically, when you get a module, you're going to find it in story. If you're running the Age of Ashes, Chapter 3, The Blood for Gold, you will open it up, which is in group, and then you hit the first thing, which is the index, and you can go page by page just by hitting down here, this little arrow. And now I can find everything. Now I can read everything. Oh, what is this? The Cinderclaw Mine. Oh, what's this all about? Read. Oh, what? There's Cinderclaw's on alert, so I can actually click this little box, and it tells me a little bit more. And then rumors, what's this all about? Click on that little box, gives me, oh, there's a table. Click on that box, and then I just hit this little button here, and it's going to tell me a rumor. Oh, there's a rumor. I can even take this and kind of show it to my whole group by clicking and dragging. Oh, look at that. Look at that. How nice and wonderful this program is. All right. And it can even have a map. I can see my map. Oh, there's the Game Master's map, but I need to see the player's map. I need to see what the players are doing. Oh, I just hit that arrow. Ah, there it is. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And I can still, look at this, and I can see the numbers that are not over here. And this is kind of a little, dinky looking because, you don't have to have a really good rendition of the Game Master's map. You're just kind of looking at it for a second. But this looks beautiful over here. Got some really nice quality, good looking map stuff. All right. Let's see. All right, so we kind of understand this images. All right, or story. That was story. Story is really important. Quest. This is new, but it's this pretty much the same thing as images, or I mean story. I'm getting that mixed up. Story. Um, this will have everything for the quest. This is kind of, like I said, newer. I haven't seen it really been implemented quite yet until now, and so really easy. I can go to the Abomination Vaults, the first one, and I can find some of these quests that are, basically what you're finding inside of the modules that tell you like how much XP you get for completing a quest. So really easy way of throwing the XP again over here into the party sheet. Just kind of bam, 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 and grab that, throw that in there. Oh, that's it. That's all I had to do. And then I have my quest XP I can award, and you got it. So see how quick that was? Really not that hard. Not hard at all. Once you kind of know what's going on. So that's quest. Self-explanatory, the bestiary. You can find all your creatures in here. Remember, pages and pages and pages. That's what you want to make sure that you're going through, because a lot of people forget about those pages. They get down to the bottom and they get really, where's all my monsters? So let's see. Let's get next. Probably hearing that thunder behind me. We have encounters. Now this is important because, and I'm gonna kind of do this really quick. Say we want to have an encounter with a billion million skeletons. Well, we're not going to do a billion million because I'm not going to sit there and make that many. But say here's a lot of things you can see last time that my players were going up against. It's a lot of stuff, and I don't want to just go to the bestiary and grab one thing, kind of stick it here, grab another, stay here, grab another, stay here. It's just taking too long. Well, easily enough, I can go into here and say I want advanced movement, or in general, just here. Really easy. Okay, this guy, level 18. I don't know. This guy looks interesting. Go here, hit other, hit the image. Oh, look at that. It's a mechanical looking elephant. with psionics or sonics or something. I don't know what's going on there. It was interesting. But anyways, so we have that. But I'd say, we want more than that. We want 43 of them, so there's 43 of their tokens. And I can actually, if I wanted to, I can take one of these tokens, and I'm going to, again, explain this later on. A lot of these things I'm going to be explaining again. But I'm going to put it down on here, right there. And that's where I want it to be, right there. Yeah. All right, that looks pretty cool. And then I want this one to be right there. But actually, let's kind of getting a little ahead of myself. Gonna delete these, but let's just say that I have 3 of them. All right, so I can easily go here, here, here. All right, cool. So we're going to call, we're just, to be honest, we're just going to keep it new encounter so it's at the top. I can close it and everything. You're going to see the tokens disappear. Pretty cool, right? But they're gone. What happened? Wait a second. Well, let's get rid of this aberrant because we're not facing that. And let's kind of get rid of 2 of these guys. But say we want this encounter to occur, and we can call this whatever we want. I just grab, or I can grab this from over here. Just doesn't matter what box. So far as I can tell, but you just grab this box, click and drag, bring it in here. Oh my goodness! It actually puts them onto the field, and they're invisible, and no one knows the better. So easily, you could just be like, 300 skeletons. And I think the most I did was around 150 skeletons, and that was literally like a 20-minute turn for the skeletons until the AOE's got enough damage going. But anyway, so that's it. It's really that easy, and then can delete them, but it's really nice when you're on the fly. That's why I actually keep this new encounter right here, because I can easily, again, I don't know where my players are going, so I never know what they're going to get into. I plan out about 50% of it, and then I don't know where the other 50% where they go, and they always trick me and do new things, so they're ridiculous players. And anyways, so next time, I just kind of delete this, and then I'll throw in whatever creature and then throw it in here. But you have to remember one thing when you're doing this. When you do throw a creature in here, say I do throw this creature in, and then I'm like, oh, there are 3 of them, and my players can see this map and everything. If they can see the map and I do start doing this, they can see those tokens being thrown out onto the field. So that is something to consider when you're doing that. Do not show, basically don't show the map until the very last second. In general, it leaves anticipation, and it makes it so that the players, they usually want the map right away, but don't give them the map necessarily right away, or throw their tokens onto the map. That's another thing, until later on. But for now, that is what counters is. And then items, of course, really easy. Armor, shields, pretty self-explanatory. Backgrounds, or I'm sorry, parcels. This is the only other area that's really important, because you can make a whole treasure trove to give to the players. And again, you go to the party sheet and then throw the treasure trove in there. That easy. And or make sure, though, it's an inventory. You throw the treasure trove up into this box. If they want to sell it, you do that. If it's going down to them, you hit this. And then also just make sure you assign them each item to who's going to who, so it's a little easier throwing it into the box like that too. But there's other ways to do it too, and I'll teach you a couple of different ways later on. But that's what that is all about in general. So that's parcels. You can make treasure troves. Backgrounds, self-explanatory. It's all the backgrounds for all the characters. Classes, same things. Feats. Look up data I think this is a thing I have that other players don't, but this makes it so sometimes if I can't find something, I just put in the code word in there. Makes it a little easier to find. Here's all the ancestries, the races, skills, spells. Say the player doesn't understand how medicine works, I can throw it in here. Different from my note medicine though, because this is the actual medicine, all the skills. They can, I throw it in there. They can look at it and understand it and be like, oh, okay, that's an action. I didn't know that was 2 actions. Maybe it's 5 actions. You never know. So that's skills, spells, same thing. Trade, same thing. Assets is the last thing, and this is where you get your tokens, your portraits, your images. And images are used a lot for map making. Portraits are just portraits for your characters, pretty much. But and then tokens. Tokens are pretty important too. But for a lot of the time, you can just like if I need like a something skeleton, um, I can just hit that, find some skeletons, and yeah, so that's assets. You can go to the store with this and buy a bunch of stuff, and it's great that they made it that easy just to go to the store. And they do have a lot of really good artists. I have tokens myself where it's really fun to throw down an image of a trap or a spike trap or something like that. There's so many really cool things that you can do with this program, and that's where we're kind of wrapping up to now. So the whole idea tonight was to really just integrate the gray area and the red area here. So let's just kind of go over a review of what we learned. So combat tracker, and this is the party sheet. This is where we kind of put our XP inventory, and we can even make the order. And then we have our calendar. All right. And then we have, you can change your colors if you really want to for your dice. If you're having a bad dice night, change your color. I'm telling you, that's what you have to do. Then we get to options over here. So options, this is everything you need to know. Options, we can change languages, currencies, have a message of the day and token lights. So pretty cool. Here is our modifiers that we're going over that are really this has everything to do with when we're making rolls. These are the most common conditions and occurrences that occur when, yeah, kind of redundant sometimes, that happen during a roll. So, and then at the bottom here, conditions. If we want to make sure that our players are drunk, we can do that, and things happen. Um, and then down here we have our characters. Easy stuff. Make some notes, find our maps and our images in general, handouts and whatnot. Oh, tables. I didn't go over this. Tables. I forgot about this. Tables. You just make a table if you want to roll something like in the ashen waste during the daytime. I can roll right here, and I can get let's see. Oh, 1 die 6 ghouls. That's it could have been no encounter from 56 to 100, but no. So tables are awesome. I'll teach you how to do those later on. And I mean, you guys are probably gonna figure out most of this on your own once you start getting playing with this. But I'm just gonna kind of get into all the nitty gritty detail because, just to make sure players are on the right track, and little tricks of the trade that I've learned throughout the year and a half I've been playing this. Not really years, but playing this. All right. So, anyways, tables. We have the story. This is where you can find all the information if you're playing like a module. Has all the story information, quests. This is the XP you gain from the quest. Bestiary, your monsters. This is your encounters, so you can build large encounters and throw them into the combat tracker with ease. And then we have items, self-explanatory. Parcels. This is where we make treasure troves, where we can throw into the party sheet inventory and make it so it's easy to distribute them really quickly. And then pretty much after that, it's all information that's based on, if you want to look up classes, feats on the class. If you want to learn, people want to know skills, you find skills. And always, because the players never can see what you see, always just throw the little box in there. unless of course you have like a bestiary, and you have this crossed off, and if something is like crossed off, most notably maps and creatures. And if I threw this in here, no one's going to be able to actually know what this is. It's unidentified. They click this is going to have nothing. But if I open it up, and later on I'll show you how to even make your players like they can even play creatures too. It's really cool. Great program. They thought a lot of things up. But yeah, and then you throw it in there like that. Now they can see everything. You can even see the name changed. All right, so that's the bestiary. All right, so that's pretty much everything. So hopefully this was educational. Everything was, or you got some answers, questions. Uh, yeah, questions answered, and everything is a little more clear for you on how to run Fantasy Grounds. If you have a question, just leave it in the comments. If not, or if anything, if this was helpful, leave a like or whatever. Not a big deal. And but I do intend to make a couple more, actually probably a few more than this, because I want people to enjoy second. I'm a huge fan of second edition. I have a little bit of time on my hands and figured that I can make a couple tutorials people have some fun with. So, anyways, thank you for watching. This is Apex Colin. You guys take care, and you have a good day or night. Peace.